Hello and welcome to another edition of Pirate Parents Live. Today we're talking about optional drop-off and move-in, and it's a hot topic. It's ECU's biggest event every year, so we have a lot to cover. With me today is Aaron Lucier, Director of Housing Operations. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes, like stated, Aaron Lucier. Been here at ECU. This will be my 28th opening at ECU, so hopefully this year we'll get it right. No, I'm kidding. I think we've gotten pretty good at it. And I oversee the operational areas of housing assignments, safety and security, emergency management, marketing, those kind of things. And really excited to have students coming back and joining us for the fall.
Yes. So if you're tuning in live, you can put any questions you have in the comment section. We have some colleagues who are monitoring that and can get you answers. If you're watching the recorded version of this, you can still put your questions into the comment section. My office will get a notification for that, and so we will get you your answers as quickly as possible. So like I said, we're talking about optional drop-off, which is actually this week. It is August 3rd through 5th. And then we'll move into talking about primary move-in, which is Wednesday, August 17th through Friday, August 19th. But then there's also an optional early move-in, which is Tuesday, August 15th, and an optional late move-in on Friday, August 18th, that evening through Sunday, August 20th. So like I said, we have a lot to cover, but we will kick things off with what is coming up first. Like I said, it's optional drop-off on August 3rd through 5th. So as we go through these questions, I like to think of it as if we were there ourselves and kind of running through our day and our checklist. So first, for those who are arriving, what does check-in look like for drop-off?
So when the student arrives, they'll go to their neighborhood service office, which they have the instruction for in their assignment information, but also we will send them a reminder of that. So look for your email, your student email right now. If you're going to be doing drop-off, you'll probably have a reminder about us, from us about those locations. So they stop by the neighborhood service office, fill out a little paperwork, bring your ECU ID if you have that, or a driver's license, so we have that. We will give you your key and fob, and the building will be open, so you really won't need your fob, but you're going to need your fob when you come back. But you'll have all that information, all that in hand. Then you'll head over to your building with a maximum of 15 other families at the same time slot as you. So it's much more relaxed. So you're coming in, you're heading up the elevator or the stairwell, and you're heading into your room. And I would say you don't have to get everything done. We'd like you to hopefully give up that parking spot within about 2 hours. So, do that light ready, everything's piled in and you did anything difficult like setting up the furniture. And then just know when you come back to campus, you can do those little things and those little details. But it is a great opportunity, very much more relaxed than our traditional move-in setup.
Yes. And you briefly did mention parking. So for those who are doing that optional early drop-off, what is parking like? Can they park right next to the halls?
Pretty close to it. Some of our buildings don't have parking right on top of it, but you're going to be parking in the area of your building most certainly, and you'll be able to, we'll talk about carts a little bit too, but you'll be able to roll your stuff over to your building and start getting settled in. So, like I said, very much more relaxed. The parking will be available because the numbers are under control. So this is a great option if you live regionally to do. And we're glad you're going to be doing it because it takes the pressure off the move-in days as well.
Mm-hmm. So since it is more relaxed, will there be an abundance of carts or volunteers available to help?
Not volunteers. It's a little early in the schedule. There'll be some people there to answer questions certainly and check in with, so there's support. But this is not a big move. This is not a big volunteer day where we have volunteers hanging out everywhere to help you. But it is a spot where we'll have our carts and bins out. But I will always say this about either drop off or move in. The best cart you can have is the one you bring with you. You're not fighting for it. You don't have to hand it over to anybody else. So if you have one of those great rolling carts, or you have one of those beach carts that over terrain carts or something like that, they're just really helpful to have. We'll have them around, but this is a great addition, and you don't have to worry about somebody staring at you. Are you going to give that cart away? No, this one's mine, and we're going to hold on to that. So that is a great option.
Awesome. So what if someone misses their scheduled drop-off time?
As long as you're in the same day, we're going to work with you. We understand, weather can happen, the roadway. You could have just underestimated the amount of time it took you on there. So we're going to work with you on that, but we ask you in your best way to honor the time that you had signed up for.
If they do miss their time, should they call ahead and say we're running late, or is it fine for them just to show up at NSO and
I would say the only one you'd have to worry about is that last grouping. If you're at the end of the day schedule, you might need to reach out to us, or consider you might not be able to just go that day if you haven't left home yet and you're already really behind. That would be a day that you might need to look towards. But other than that, no, there's no need to call us. We'll figure it out. Like, okay, they didn't show up. They're either showing up later or they're going to do move-in. So.
Easy process. Is there a checkout process for drop-off, and do students need to return their keys?
No. Now, let's be clear about this because there has been a small amount of confusion in this past. You are doing drop-off, and drop-off means you drop your stuff off. You are not dropping your student off this day. So this means that folks are heading home and then coming back about the week and a half, 2 weeks later when they are actually moving onto campus and staying and bringing your last few bags of stuff. So, but you take your key and fob with you and you bring it back with you, because that's the other important part, is you need to bring your key and fob back with you. So load the room up, have that, in mind that you still have a bag or two back home of the last few items you need to bring. But when you come back to campus that Friday or Saturday, you're just bringing a few bags and your key and your fob.
Mm-hmm. Can families drop their student off if they don't? Well, of course they can drop their student off if they don't have a car, but can they come with their student to say goodbye if their student is bringing their car?
Yeah, they can. I would say, we would ask you in those busy days to try to find a remote parking lot, or maybe go out to dinner and then, have a goodbye or something like that, and maybe not do the goodbye right next to the campus in a parking spot that is really desirable at that point. But, we just be considerate of the fact that when you return to campus, we're going to be midst of a move-in, and therefore we want to. The reason why we allow drop-off and we don't charge for it is we are trying to take pressure off those move-in days. And you taking up 2 parking spots is not taking up pressure off move-in days. So just be considerate of where you're doing that and how long you're staying.
Awesome. So is there anything else about drop-off you would like to mention before we move on?
I just pretty much the same advice I'd give for move-in on a few items is pack your patience. It most likely will be hot. I can pretty much almost guarantee that. Look at the weather, and if it looks like there's severe weather, we'll work with you. If you say, well, we don't want to arrive in the middle of a thunderstorm, we'll probably be able to work with you and know that that's going on. So look at the weather that day. And once again, try to bring as much as possible during that period. I've seen people like, we just wanted to see the room really. I'm like, that's not what drop-off is for. Drop-off really is to take that pressure off the elevators and the hallways and the parking to really speed those move-in days off. So if you're taking advantage of drop-off, really take advantage of drop-off. Move as much as you possibly can into that room.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So now we'll switch gears and talk about primary move-in first, since that's when the bulk of our students will be moving in. That's when the bulk of you guys will be moving in. So again, those dates are Wednesday, August 17th through Friday, August 19th. We'll pretty much go through the same kind of process of thinking that we are going through that ourselves that day. So where does check-in occur, and what does that process look like for primary move-in?
All right, so that will be at the central location of Minges Hall of Fame. So you will want to put in Minges Coliseum as your Google location, and you're going to
not the residence hall.
Not the residence hall.
Coliseum.
You want to arrive once again. You want to arrive at Minges Coliseum, pick up your keys and some other information, and also a parking marker that says you are about to move in. So sort of a move-in pass. It's not your parking pass from the semester, it's just a move-in pass for the day. And so you pick up all that at Minges, then they will release you from the parking area towards your residence hall.
And so what does parking look like when they get to the residence hall?
So once again, very time limited. We are really encouraging you to drop the stuff, get the stuff out of the car, into a cart. If you've got multiple family members, have that one family member who is designated to move the car away. And then, so you got unloaded, everybody's got things in carts, they're headed up. You have that one person who's like, I'm moving the car to the remote parking lot, or I'm moving first car. If we have two cars, then I will come back and get the second one and move those to the remote parking lot to get those spaces free. So we will try to get you as close to your residence hall as we can, but part of that is we are relying on the people that arrive before you to get their car moved as soon as possible. So if you want to be a really good pirate and be helpful to do that process, priorities are getting the stuff out of the car as quickly as possible and getting those cars moved.
Because once it's in the room, it's in the room.
It's in the room. But get it in a cart. Send, if you have a bunch of people, get them moving the stuff, but also keep that person behind who's moving the cars to the remote lots. And then when I say remote lots, they're not that far from campus, so they can walk back to campus and join you. It just gets those cars from those vital spaces right next to the residence hall.
Exactly. And you talked about getting them in the carts and in the residence hall. So can you talk about what carts will be available and what additional help will be available from volunteers?
We will have volunteers. Unfortunately, we can't always rely that there's going to be enough volunteers for everybody, but they're certainly out there smoothing and helping that process along. If you're a student that maybe is moving in with little family support, look for the folks in the golden shirts. Everybody's wearing purple on move-in day, so we put our volunteers largely in gold shirts so you can identify them pretty handily. And then you can grab a few of them and get some help. We will have what we call our gray bins. We will have some hand carts too. But once again, if you bring your own cart, that's a cart you have, you're not fighting for it, you're not waiting in line for it. It also helps us because we cannot possibly have enough carts for every individual person, or you might have one of our carts and your cart next to each other, but that helps that move-in process happen just that one bit quicker.
Yes. So for that primary move-in time, what if someone misses that primary move-in time?
So, great question, and you really bring up a point. Some buildings have all day to move in, and that's some of our smaller buildings. But our high rises and our larger buildings, you're given both a day to move in, but also a specific time window. And so you need to do your best to honor that time window. I would say we're going to be flexible if you arrive after that time. So namely, once again, traffic or something happened and you arrive after your time. But if you arrive before your time window, we're going to say it's time to go to lunch, or you want to maybe it's time to run over to the bookstore or check out Greenville a little bit. But we're asking that, after your time slot, certainly we understand things can happen, but before your time slot, we ask you to honor your time slot.
We know some of you guys are very punctual. We saw it at orientation, but yes, when it is your time, it is your time.
We are excited. We're excited to have you here. We know you're excited to be here, but we ask you to look at that time as that's your window, and another time is somebody else's window.
Yes, that's why we have the time windows. So anything else about primary move-in before we talk about early move-in or late move-in?
Just a few suggestions, and I would even say this could even impact drop-off. Label your boxes, put your name and where you're living, because sometimes people have gotten separated from their carts by accident or whatever else. So label your boxes, do as many tubs as possible. You might say, we're just going to put the clothes in the back and lay them in the back seat. Well, if you can get them into bins, get them into bins, because it's just so much easier to move than a big pile of clothes when you're walking a little bit or whatever else. So think about movability. Have some tubs that maybe you take home and you bring back to move out. So, or if you have some dedicated tubs at home, bring them. So just think about, if it's hard to load it into the car, it's going to be hard to load it out of the car. So that's one thing. And also, once again, pack your patience. Always pack your patience. I'm not kidding with the fact that this is a move-in process I've done many times. You've done many times. Our staff has often many times. Our RAs have done it at least once before because they're returning students. So everybody's done this before. And we learn and we know that, while we're going to plan for everything, we can't plan for everything. And so we are going to be ready for a lot of things, but if a weather situation happens, or there's a small problem in your room, or there's even a big problem in your room, communicate that to us, let us get an opportunity to fix it, but know that we didn't didn't do this to you, it wasn't planned, and we're going to do our best to get it fixed. But we need you to pack your patience. Be patient. If we say it's going to take a little time, once again, maybe that's the time to go over to the dining hall and grab a little lunch and come back to the room when the situation's resolved. Or if the lines are a little longer than expected, just be patient and know that we're doing the best we can, because something obviously is not going as planned.
Mm-hmm. Good points. Yeah. You say pack your patience. I always say wear your patience pants.
Yes.
Both. Pack it and wear it.
Yes. Pack it and believe. But even have patience with each other.
Yes.
It is a hot, warm day.
Yes.
It is also, students, you might not realize it's probably a little emotional for you. Not everybody's in touch with it like that. This is an emotional day. It's also a very emotional day for your parents. They might be like, yeah, we're going to be happy for them. But you know what? It's an emotional day for them. So everybody's wearing their emotions up here. Yes. So remember that as you're going around and you're like, Mom, why are you being so clingy? Why are we taking all these? Just give your mom or your dad their moment and move on and just be ready to get into it. And you might be like, it's time to go. Well, you need to give them a moment for them to know when they're ready to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because especially when you look back on this day, you don't want to look back on it and think about the fight you had in the hallway. You want to think about, the hugs and
Yes.
your mom making your bed. That was my mom. She was like, I must make your bed for you before I leave. And, maybe I rolled my eyes a little bit, but it's a lovely gesture. And you're right. Everyone is wearing their emotions, whether you realize it or not. So just make it as happy and enjoyable a day as you can.
I always find it funny when we talk about those things, because my parents' emotional moment was dropping me off at the 32nd Street bus station in Philadelphia, wishing me luck in Pittsburgh. So it was I have 5 brothers and sisters. They were like kids in the car, like, we got to go. There's kids in the car. We got to go. It was a different time and a different setup. So I love seeing all the families together. I think it's a great part of the Pirate experience. Also, I'm going to point out another thing. This is not the day to bring grandma with you. If grandmother has mobility challenges, this is not the day. It is hot. It is crazy. A highly organized, laser focused crazy, but it's still crazy. So we have the Parent and Families Weekend, which is a great opportunity to bring family to a game and an experience. But this is not the day to bring the larger family, or all the cousins with little kids. I've seen people bring like 30 people, and only 5 of them can lift things.
Mm-hmm. Or even fit in the room.
Yes. So think that this is a great day for taking pictures and sharing them with family, but this is not the best day to bring everybody with you. This is a working day with some emotional highlights and certainly some photography and some recognition of the importance of the day, but is not Parent and Family Weekend.
No. Good point. Good point. Okay, so we will now move on to that optional early move-in on August 15th, and then the late move-in, which is the evening of Friday, August 18th through Sunday, August 20th. So since that is the early optional and optional late time, what does check-in look like for those?
So those are check-ins back at the neighborhood service office. So those are designed for students that need to arrive early and have a purpose for arriving. I like to say hopefully have a purpose too. There is a fee for that, and that information's out there for you. The late option is there is no fee for it. It's all right, couldn't make any other times work, and here it's available to you. I'd ask that new students, first-time students at ECU, don't use the Sunday option. Use the Saturday option if you need to. That's out there for working families, folks that can't get away maybe from the weekdays, don't have enough leave time. So that Saturday option is there. That's, once again, a neighborhood service office, no additional charge for that, and it's available to them. And that's a great option for folks. Is once again, it's at the neighborhood service office. You'll park near your building, you'll get in. It's a little bit more relaxed than the main move-in days, but it's also a little later. And so you don't want to, Sundays out there for our returning students. because the next day's classes. Now, as a returning student, you can show up and be like, yeah, I got class tomorrow, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, you've done it before.
But new students, try to get here on Saturday, maybe midday, and move in and get settled, because we want you here on campus. We want you to have a little time to adjust, and so that's really important. But these are options, particularly for folks that the main schedule doesn't work for. We want to make sure that you have options. One of these options hopefully will work with you. If none of these options work for you, give us an email, give us a call. But we're hoping one of these extra options for it. Even on move-in day, on the main move-in days of Wednesday and Thursday, there's even a late hours, after hours option as well. So you can check in the evening hours and when it's a little cooler and a little bit more laid back. So there's all these options. They're all on the website. They're all on the LinkedIn on the emails that we've sent you. But we're presenting you lots of different options. So you don't need to tell us what you're doing. You get to pick out which one works best for you. Follow that schedule and arrive.
For those, that optional early, optional late time, are there any limitations for how many family members or guests can help those students?
No, none at all. Once again, focused on it as a busy day, bringing the folks that can help you move in versus want to watch you move in. Yes. The only thing that we need to let folks know is if you're a returning student in College Hill Suites, that Tuesday drop-off, move-in is not available because we're going to be prepping the building after hosting the softball World Series teams in our building. And so we're going to need that time to prep the building. So folks been asking, like, why can't I do early drop-off? Well, we are hosting an international event those days before, and we need time to get your room ready the way it should be ready for you.
It's exciting that we're hosting them.
It is exciting.
You're excited too. Okay, again, we're talking about the optional early, optional late. Just want to keep it clear. Will carts be available for?
Carts will be available. Probably not volunteers, but you'll probably be able to get closer to your building than some of the other times during the schedule. So, and also just like I'd say a little bit more relaxed, not quite as relaxed as drop-off would be. So,
is there anything else about optional early move-in and optional late move-in before we start?
For optional early move-in that has a fee, or the after-hours move-in that have a fee, those will be just assigned to your ECU bill. You don't need to bring the money with you. You don't need to bring a check or a credit card.
That's great.
You're going to sign a form, and you're going to be billed those on your ECU account.
That's awesome. Good point.
The last item, want to be clear, if you're at a living learning program or other program that is giving you other move-in instructions other than the ones we've talked about today, follow those instructions. There is a select group of folks that are arriving at different windows. They have different times because of the program. Camp Pirates, for example, some of the living learning programs, ROTC, they have some special arrival schedules. If you've received an email that says, look, this is really what our move-in schedule is going to be, and you're in that special program, trust that your special program people are telling you the right things.
Yes. Yes. Versus the generic.
We are giving you the generic. We're giving you the big picture today. But if you get detailed instructions from another program, follow those instructions.
Yes. Great points. Another question, just applying to all of the move-in options and drop-off options. If a student is renting a loft, yes, when can they expect that? We
expect to have them loaded in for drop-off. So your loft will be there when you arrive. If there's an issue, we can call the loft company and get it corrected. If you decided at the last minute to order one, that of course, like if you order it the day before, it will not be there. But we can certainly order them and get them in place. And they will also, that loft company is a great partner of ours. So if something, once again, practicing your patience. If something isn't right, the loft's in the wrong room or set up wrong, we can get them involved and get them out there to help with that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So as we wrap up, because we have covered a lot, yes, and we've talked about some of these general tips and advice about moving in on campus, but are there any others that you would like to share?
Yeah, I would say for lots of people, I'll give some of the common questions we often get. I would bring maybe a small toolkit that day, recognizing that. I would make sure that you visit our link on our website for the what to bring and what not to bring list. Mm-hmm. Really important. It is, there is a number of items that are safety items that are concerned that are quite common. For one example, air fryers are not allowed. Yes. That's not an ECU decision, that's a state fire marshal decision, and that is for a safety reason. And so just look at that list and look it over. One change that we've did last year, and we're going to continue down that road, is we are not asking for command strips on drywall. If you have drywall in your room, and we'll send you that link, you should probably look at doing a thumbtack or a small tack if you can, versus the command strips. They don't always come off great. But if you have cinder block or concrete walls in your room, which all depends on the building, command strips are appropriate for that. So just look at what kind of wall you have for what type of solution you're going to be putting up things on your walls. All of that information is in your move-in information that is going out for folks. So but look over that list of what to bring and what not to bring. It's really important that you're not moving in with one of those, quote, forbidden items.
One question that I remember getting in the past, can folks mail any items to their students' room before they move in? Is that allowed?
It is. I would say look at your move-in day, and most of the websites out there can give you very specific move-in times. We ask that you do not have your Amazon package arrive 2 weeks before your student does. So look at your arrival time, and you can even do scheduling that says, I want this to arrive on this time window. So do that with the packages. Also, look at your move-in information for how your building is addressed. Greenville, in honor of ECU, has several streets named after the same people that we have residence halls named after. So there is a Jarvis Residence Hall, and there's a Jarvis Street. So you need to make sure that you're really addressing that mail as Jarvis Residence Hall, and your room number is your box number, if you see box number, or somebody asked you that. So, so if you live in 123 Jarvis Hall, you best put 123 Jarvis Residence Hall and put in the rest of the address, because you might let your mail going to Jarvis Street, and that's a real thing. But the other thing, if you're shipping a lot, particularly if you're doing like a lot of FedEx packages from your house to ECU, there is an option. We have a FedEx office right across from our main student center. And you can FedEx to a station where it's there and available to you, and it will also be available outside the hours of our neighborhood service office as and therefore you can do a FedEx drop-off there. So if you're shipping a bunch of FedEx stuff to you, or you're outside the region, you're maybe mailing stuff, your students flying into ECU, the FedEx office option is great. They will hold your packages until you come pick them up.
That is a really great option. And then also talking about mailing things to campus, you can also find how to write your student's mailing address on the website, correct?
Yes. Mailing, loads of information on the website, loads of information on the links that we had in the email that we sent you about your assignment. So we're always talking about it. If you have a question, certainly ask it. But we'd ask that you first check the website, then see if then you reach out to us. Always want to refer you to the website, because you might find out a question you didn't even know to ask on the website. So that's really valuable. We've really tried to load the website with as much information as possible. Certainly, we've sent a large majority of the measurements of the room. We've gotten a few requests for some additional measurements, but we've sent a lot of the measurements of the room as one of those links that are incurred on that move-in information that we sent you.
Mm-hmm. So just go to the website. There is so much. Are there
There's
any?
a website for that. Yes.
Lots of pages on the website. Yes. Are there any other final reminders before we wrap up that we may have missed?
I look forward to students coming. We're excited about it. We're of course going to be sending you a lot more information. The last reminder I'm always going to say is continue, students, check your ECU email. If there's any updates, we will send you some reminders about drop-off. We will send you some reminders about move-in coming up. You're going to be receiving some information about this week about, or in the near future, about having insurance, making sure that you're either covered by your homeowners or personal renter's insurance at home. See if it covers your student while they're away at college. Those are things you should be looking at. All of that information is going to your ECU email address. So students, you're going to probably hear this in every video that we ever do, is going to be continue to check your official ECU email at least several times a week, because that is the way the university communicates with you officially. And we know that students are not always fans of email, but we haven't found a better solution other than emails to send you large amounts of information.
That's how your future profession and job is going to communicate with you.
Yes, we check our email.
We check our email.
Yes,
That's how we set this up.
yep,
We
yep,
emailed.
there we go.
Okay, yeah, so key takeaways. Have your student check their ECU email at least a few days before you plan on either participating in that early optional drop-off or any of those move-in options, to review that information and make sure you have it all. Pack your patients, wear your patients' pants.
Check your weather.
Check for weather.
Yeah.
Go to the housing.ecu.edu website and just review the information. And do a scan, do a read through, check a couple of the pages, and make sure you've got everything that you need to know, because it is there.
Yeah, very excited that we have all that information out there. Lots of pictures, lots of videos we've been doing. Over the last few weeks, we've done social media posts about the individual buildings, sort of highlighting it, and we've gotten a great response on that. So just, connect with us on social media, check out the website. Most likely somebody's asked the question before, and it might even be out there.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Aaron, for joining me today, and thank you for tuning into the Pirate Parents Live. So again, if you need access to the information, go to the housing website, housing.ecu.edu. If you can't find your answer there, you can email housing@ecu.edu. And like Aaron said, we are very, very, very excited to have you guys on campus to move in your student for their first year of college.
Yes, exciting times.